Charms, coming live from DS Images Studios, bringing you different kinds of stories, inspiring, touching, vlog stories, and even educative stories. And if you're new, maybe the first time watching this channel, remember to subscribe, drop a comment, hit a like there, and also maybe if you've a question, maybe you have a comment, drop it there. So today I'm having a guest here with a very educative story. He's an author, writer. Actually, he has done 2 books, Career Dynamics in the 21st Century, and also Survival, Living Beyond Survival, and also the First Century Student. Actually, there are 3. One is booklet. So, without further ado, allow me to let my guest introduce himself. Yes, sir. Introduce yourself to
Thank you. Thank you, David, for inviting me to your studios. My name is Mwangi. I'm a professional trainer on strategy, management of change, performance management, and leadership. I also write on the same areas. I've actually been published in more than 100 articles in the media. Notably, one of the most prominent writings is a strategy column in a magazine called Small and Medium Enterprises Today, which I ran for a month on a monthly basis between 2013 and 2018. And I later became very involved in the school system and retired from the column. But I'm still writing in different forums. I also love solving problems, personal, organizational, and even national problems. As an example, I'll give you the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. I gave the government a concept on what to do with the Youth Enterprise Development Fund way back in 2006. It's working well up to now. And I still continue solving problems in different ways. And I believe that is why you have invited me today, so that I can explain the problems that are related to what is going on, that I have also contributed to some solutions.
Yeah, thank you so much, and welcome to our show today. Actually, there's a lot going on in our schools in Kenya here, and maybe to start with, let's start with a question relating to what's happening in schools. Over the past a couple of days, students have set fire to hundreds of secondary schools across the country in Kenya. And maybe my question is, why are students setting fire to their own schools?
Wow, that's a great concern. I would like to first confirm that I have written 2 serious books. One is called Career Dynamics in the 21st Century, which I first wrote in 2015. And then Living Beyond Survival, No More Tiptoeing in Life, which I wrote in 2018. The second one is an advancement. And one of the issues that is of great concern to me is that I had predicted problems in the school system way back in 2015, and I noticed these problems with universities. Now they have gone down to secondary schools. So what are those problems that are leading to these challenges that are going on? Though I have given details of how the education is supposed to transform in the 21st century, there is one thing that is of great concern. The world has evolved through 5 eras. Currently, we are in the talent era. The world itself is in the talent era, but our education system is still stuck in what is known as information knowledge era of the 20th century. So basically, we are mentally in the 20th century, but physically in the 21st century. And my books, the first book, Career Dynamics in the 21st Century, was meant to bring Kenyans from 20th century paradigms or mentalities to 21st century mentalities. But that has not happened as yet, although it is now being implemented through the CBC, the competency-based curriculum. So those who are going through the 844 system are still stuck in the 20th century paradigms where we talk about people getting certificates, getting degrees, and thinking that they are going to get the jobs that they want upon acquiring the education that they are capable of acquiring. The 21st century is totally different. It's about aligning the education system with our natural orientations. And the natural orientations are inborn abilities. The 20th century basically relies on what we call extrinsic factors. The 21st century relies on intrinsic factors. And intrinsic factors are as good as our natural talents. Everybody is talented in something. Everybody is talented either physically or intellectually in different areas. But now, our school system has never recognized that. It's only being recognized through the CBC. So we are completely on track as far as CBC is concerned, because it's aligning the education system with the dynamics of the 21st century. But the 844, those who are going through the 844 system are having a problem. They do not know where the education is taking them. They're just being pumped with knowledge. They have no strategic direction. They have no, they also develop poor attitudes because of the fact that they are not clear about where that education is taking them. That is now what is bringing problems. They are wondering, where is this education taking us? And by the way, some of the reasons which made me write the first book is that I was addressing some issues that I had come across when training in organizations. I had realized that more than 80% of people who are employed, they are dispassionate about what they do. They are only interested about what they get. Along the way, as I researched, I realized that more than 50% of our graduates are unemployable. And that was in 2014 when I came up with those facts or figures, and I consulted the Ministry of Education in your house, I consulted universities, and it looks like there was a problem, a serious problem of disempowerment that nobody knew how it can be sorted out. In fact, that is what inspired me to write Career Dynamics in the 21st century. So, it looks like now it has become a reality to students who are in the 844 system that they are heading nowhere with the current education system. And that is why they have gone, the 844 system. That is why they have gone riot. They are simply trying to suppress the government from continuing with the 844 education system.
So, do you think students have learned that let me take you back. Do you think that students have learned that setting fire to their schools is an effective tactic for winning acknowledgement of their dissatisfactions? Because the way you're explaining it's like these students, most of them, majority are distressed. They are not comfortable with what they're doing, like academically, and also there is slow realizing that 844 is taking them nowhere. So do you think doing so or setting fire to their schools is one way of making their grievances acknowledged?
Okay, thank you for that observation. The way I put it is, I have done quite some research on the problems in the education system. Because of the school system being aligned to the 20th century paradigms, as opposed to the current 21st century paradigms, the problem is that Now, students do not have strategic direction, or they have no focus. Okay? And when they have no focus, they also end up not being inspired or having the wrong attitudes about themselves, about their education and everything else. Now, the next thing that happens is that they venture into indiscipline. Why do they venture into indiscipline? They are trying to get out of the problems that they are going through in the education system, which causes stress in their lives. Okay? So what the students are doing, they are not solving problems. They are trying to run away from their experiences of looking like they are being punished by the education system. So when they ban schools, they are not solving the problems. They are running away from their experiences.
Okay.
But there are solutions to those problems that they are going through.
What do you mean by experience?
Pardon?
What do you mean by experience? Running away from the experience?
Running away from the experiences of not having strategic direction. The experiences of not having focus. The experiences of having poor attitudes. They also lead to poor learning culture. And in the process, even the performance goes down. The performance in schools, is driven downwards by those attitudes and lost focus or lack of strategic direction. Yes.
Okay. Then, now what's the solution for this?
The solutions are very simple. Extremely simple as far as I'm concerned. Since writing my 2 books, or the first one in 2015, I've been involved a lot with the school system. Wherever I take my books, which are actually approved for circulation in schools by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, and the same books, the first one, was used for the architecture of the new curriculum, or the ideas were used for the architecture of the new curriculum. So you see, the CBC borrowed ideas from that book, okay, on how empowerment should be aligned in the school system. But that only applies to the one who are going through CBC, or the new curriculum, the competency-based curriculum. The 844 system, those who are going through it, are still going through the same challenges that were being solved by CBC. Okay? But now, what did I do? I showed direction on how every one of us is supposed to be empowered. It doesn't matter whether you are going through the CBC or you are going through the 844 system. And what I can tell you is that I've gotten very good feedback from the schools that we have interacted with over the years, where they employ the ideas that articulated in career dynamics in the 21st century, of showing that all of us are different. Some are good at this area of empowerment, some are good on this other area of empowerment, and also others call me to conduct seminars for teachers and also for students of the different classes. And the problem of poor attitudes, the problem of poor learning culture, the problem of poor focus is sorted out easily once that knowledge that has been used for architecture of the new curriculum is applied in the 844 system.
So you mean, do you think the designing of a new curriculum, new learning CBC curriculum that can adopt the changing needs of schools in Kenya is crucial?
The CBC, as far as I'm concerned, implementation of CBC is not debatable.
It's not?
It's not debatable. Because it's simply taking the education system in Kenya to the global perspective, aligning it with the global thinking. You get? As I said earlier, we are in the 21st century physically, but mentally in
844.
So the CBC is now taking Kenya, the Kenyan education system to align it with the paradigms of the 21st century as is happening globally. So, the CBC is on track. What is not on track is fighting CBC. Because fighting CBC means we remain in the 20th century mentally, but continue being in the 21st century physically.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you see, I'm looking at this scenario.
Yes.
The dynamics of life keeps changing every minute
Yes.
as people grow.
Yes.
And do you think 844, let me use 844, the one that you're referring to, 20th century, will soon change to 21st century? Like joining, okay, CBC, you know, is coming. It's a new baby,
Yes.
newborn baby.
Yes.
Still, you know, baby coming up.
Mm.
So do you think the change of life dynamics of our children now, as they join across CBC, will change their thinking? Because they're, according to your explanation, it's like we are still fighting how to come out of 844
Yes.
to join the
Yes.
CBC 20th century.
Mm.
We are still there mentally.
Yes.
How will you do it? What is the solution?
When I was trying to see how I can contribute to the transformation of the education system, I was simply applying what is now being applied in the CBC, okay, to the 844 system. What does that mean? All of us are talented. It doesn't matter whether you belong to CBC or you belong to 844. And as far as the ideas of talent are concerned, there are two types of talent. One is physical talents, which is recognized by the school system through people who are very good with the work of their arts, people who are very good with things that can respond to the sensory system. That is what physical talents are all about. But there are also intellectual talents. The intellectual talents, the fact that you are an A student, does not mean that you can become anything. But that is how our school system is. The moment you become an A student, you can become a doctor, you can become a lawyer, you can become an engineer. Those are the main areas that are considered to be high-level careers.
Okay.
Now, so a lot of people are unable to align themselves with the natural orientations or the talents aligned to their performance. You get? And now, that is one of the greatest problems we are having in the 844 system, because even students from serious schools, well-known schools, national schools, getting A's, follow what I said earlier, extrinsic factors of empowerment as opposed to intrinsic factors of empowerment. Intrinsic are internal, extrinsic are external. Are we together?
Yes.
So now, we end up having very good A students who end up becoming mediocre lawyers, mediocre engineers, mediocre doctors, and they are all from serious schools. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I have been doing research on that, and I meet them every now and then. And even as I continue our empowerment strategies, I have interacted a lot with national schools, county schools, extra-county schools, and sub-county schools. And the problems are the same. The only difference is the learning capacity of our students in the different schools. That is the only difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
In one of your books, I think it's, I read one of your books,
Yes.
Dynamics in 21st Centuries. There is a topic on childhood fantasies. I just want to give an example. Like there's a name there by someone Keith.
Mm-hmm.
when Keith was growing up,
Mm.
wanted to be animal scientist.
Yes.
And along the way, he changed the career.
Mm.
He actually, in fact, there were two, the kids and the twin sister,
Wow.
Wangeshi.
Yeah.
Wangeshi wanted to be a surgeon, right?
Yeah.
Then they wanted to, you know, Wangeshi wanted to be a surgeon, Keith wanted to be animal scientist.
Mm.
But along the way, they changed the career.
Yes.
What triggers most of our students to do so?
Wow. By the way,
Does the society contribute? Because in most children, in most kids, when they're growing up, they always have some career in mind.
yes.
I want to be so and so, I want to do this and this. So what reached a point where, like kids and the rest, they reached a point where they said they want to change, you know, a career. And also there is also another guy there by the name Justin.
Mm-hmm.
Justin did so well in his KCC exams,
Mm-hmm.
and he was called in one of University of Nairobi,
Yeah.
and he went through elite schools, one of elite schools.
Mm.
He was called to University of Nairobi
Yes.
to do the was medicine, right?
Mm.
Then along the way he applied for a job
As a journalist.
As a journalist, after
Yes.
applying for a job as a journalist,
Mm.
he passed so well interview, then he was taken, and he disappointed the society.
He abandoned.
He abandoned the medicine.
Thank you. Thank you.
Explain to viewers what contributes to all this.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, just for interest sake, Keith and the surgeon,
Yes.
the twins, are our two children, two smaller children.
Oh, biological children.
Yes, biological
Wow.
children.
I was just reading, you know.
Charity begins at home.
Exactly.
Let me put it this way. Charity begins at home. As our children were growing up, I was observing their interests and the direction they were going through the school system. And as you said, Keith wanted to become an animal scientist. He loved a lot going to national parks a lot. And we spent a lot of time taking him there because that was his interest
I saw
at
it
that
in the-
time. And along the way, he continued growing up. And he continued changing. And when he finished secondary school, by the time he finished secondary school, he was already properly aligned or reasonably aligned, and we went for a BCom degree, which could not accommodate animal science. Besides, we had already observed that he doesn't belong to sciences. Today, just to put the story, to make the story short, he's a marketer. He's a marketer. But before going to marketing, he was actually focusing into accounting and finance. Okay? It's well documented in
Yes, I saw it.
career dynamics in the 21st century
Yes.
of the steps that he went through.
So he changed to accounting.
Yes, along the way, while he was in university, he wanted to pursue accounting. Okay? And he actually started doing CPA. And he did up to CPA part 1. But along the way, I was monitoring. Is he doing it right? Is he following the right direction? And I had a counseling session with him, which lasted 1 year. That is how he ventured into marketing. Today, he's a very passionate marketer.
Wow.
In fact, at 28, he's a marketing manager in an international organization. We shall not give you the name right now.
Yes, I like
Now, the other one, she was the twin sister. She wanted to be a surgeon. Right from the time she was in nursery school. I don't know why she wanted to be a surgeon. Nobody ever knew. And she continued surgeon. And wow, from three in one of the leading schools in Nairobi, there was a talk that was made by one of the authorities in the banking industry in Kenya, in their school. And she realized, oh, I don't even like the sign of blood. So I could be seriously in the wrong profession if I venture into surgery, and along the way she shaped, today she's an IT guru. She's an IT guru, information technology guru, which is properly aligned
Yes.
with her natural orientations,
True.
just like her brother.
Yeah.
Her brother could have pursued accounting,
but now it's a
but because of the guidance,
Yeah.
he now pursued his natural orientations, and he's very passionate in what he does. The same case applies to the girl.
Now, you know that, okay, concerning the same, that there are parents with kids maybe who goes through the same.
Yes.
Like the parent, you know, like let's use Justin case. Justin
Yes.
wanted to be a doctor.
Yes.
Even society went ahead and contributed some money. That's according to your book, right?
Yes.
After contributing the money, believing that now since Justin is going for medicine, we already have the our own doctor
Yes.
that will be taking care of our sickness problems. But now he disappointed the community. So, there are parents outside there who sometimes face such problems. They release their children to go study a certain course. But along the way, students change and divert to another course. What's your take? What can you advise? What will you advise that parents such case?
The case of Justin is actually very interesting. This is not a story that I had. It's somebody that I know personally. He told me his story, and it became part of the content in Career Dynamics in the 21st century. He was from a generally normal family in the rural areas, but he was performing very well. And when he finished Form 6, those days, he ended up being admitted to do medicine in the University of Nairobi. And he continued with medicine, until 4th year. Medicine, I think even now, goes for 5 years.
Yeah.
But at the 4th year, that is when he realized, no, I'm not supposed to be a doctor. Yet, the village had even contributed to ensure that the son becomes their own doctor. Their son becomes their own doctor. Okay? So, when he came to University of Nairobi, those days, he's just about my age or slightly older than me. Justin lost interest in medicine at 4th year. And instead, what he saw is an advert of people who are supposed to be admitted to do journalism. So, I think he went to the Institute of Mass Communications those days, and left his medicine degree at 4th year. And actually what happened is that he ended up becoming a journalist, and not just a journalist, a technologically oriented journalist. You get? So you see him with this equipment, carrying them every day as he goes to work. In fact, he had been a public servant for many, many years, now just about retirement age. So he was very disappointed. The village would have been very disappointed learning that he never became a doctor. But somehow later in life, he was able to report why he was not able to continue with medicine. And what I find interesting is that now, even his own children, who ended up even reading this book, Career Dynamics in the 21st century, ended up learning the father's mistake and learned from him. Okay? And the tendency now is when people understand that they are supposed to be driven by intricate factors, okay? Intrinsic factors, then they stop losing direction, like Justin had done. Yes.
Another question. In the same topic, no, this is another topic in your book. The system in education, right? Irene, the first lady pilot in Kenya Airways. I want to use her as example.
Yes.
The father used to be a pilot.
Yes.
The father used to fly with her on a cockpit.
Yes.
All the time.
Yes.
And this resulted into her
Becoming
pursuing the same career of being a pilot.
Yes.
Actually, she became the first pilot.
Yes.
Apart from your book, I read her somewhere different, somewhere else. She became the first female pilot in Kenya Airways. Do you think, what do you tell parents at the same time, before I even conclude? The same Irene tried her son
to become
a pilot, but the son was not interested. He had his just own interests. So he did not even buy the idea from the mother. So in that scenario, what do you tell? What's your take with those parents? Like, do you encourage parents to...
Now, it's a very common scenario of parents wanting their children to become what they are.
Yes.
Especially if they are high order skills or high order careers. Every parent wants to be joined by their children in those high order careers. But at the end of the day, what you determine whether they are going to be joined by students who will excel in whatever they become is the intrinsic factors. The intrinsic factors is their natural orientations. The good thing, the lady pilot was aligned the same way like the father. And that is why she became a successful pilot, just like the father. The fact that you are a pilot or the father was a pilot did not mean that the lady had to become a pilot. She was influenced to it, but at the same time, she was good at it. Okay? But the son, when the lady tried to influence her son, the son was not interested. Because that is not his nature. But there are those who are forced, to go through the same education, to go through the same arrangements of eventually what they are going to become, and they end up becoming mediocre pilots, mediocre engineers, mediocre everything, because of following extrinsic factors as opposed to intrinsic factors. The intrinsic and extrinsic are key in the empowerment strategy of the 21st century.
Okay.
And if you don't follow intrinsic empowerment strategy, then you end up becoming whatever you want, but you be a mediocre this or that. That is what happens. Yes.
So what do you advise the parent outside there?
Outside there?
Concerning the same.
Get to know your children very well. Get to know your children very well. It's always easy to know what a child is good at, what a child excels in doing that others do not excel in, what a child enjoys doing that others do not enjoy. And that way, you'll be able to see the direction of that child or the career aligned to that child, because careers are different. There are those which are aligned on the basis of whether somebody is a scientist or the basis of whether somebody is an artist. But there is one problem that has led to some of these issues that parents are going through, which I need to bring out, even before you ask me.
Yeah.
Now, long time ago, we used to have two types of secondary schools. One was technical secondary schools. The other one was academics. Okay? The academics themselves. And we were tested, especially people of our age, were tested right from primary school with hard work and all those, issues of manual or hard-oriented activities. And those who are very good with the work of their hands, right from secondary schools, primary schools, they were going to technical secondary schools. And every province in Kenya, that time we used to have 8 provinces, had a technical secondary school. And I can give examples of Thika Technical Secondary School, Meru Technical Secondary School, Machakos Technical Secondary School, Kabete Technical Secondary School, and many others in different provinces. Now, those technical secondary schools were killed in the education system, especially during the 844 system, the 844 curriculum. When they were killed, the empowerment pathway of people who are aligned with their the work of their, who are good in the work of their hands, lost an empowerment pathway, a complete empowerment pathway, which was associated with blue-collar jobs. I don't know whether you have ever heard of blue-collar jobs.
Yeah.
Those are technical-oriented jobs, technicians, electricians, and those type of people. Now everybody went towards academics, white-collar jobs, office work and all that. And that is where our education system started failing and failing badly. Those technical orientations are being brought up, but now from a different perspective, after people finish secondary schools. And as far as I'm concerned, that is the wrong approach. We are still supposed to go back to technical secondary schools if we expect the new curriculum to take shape in the way that is aligned. If we don't go back to secondary schools, technical secondary schools, or the way the curriculum is aligned, then we still continue with the same problems.
Do you think, according to CBC, for the few couple of days it has been, it's lasted, or it's introduced to these students, these kids, the way explaining before those years during technical schools, do you think what CBC is doing relates the same to that was by then?
Yes.
Most of it's more okay, CBC is more of practical.
Yes.
I don't know whether I'm right, because it's more practical, right? Do you think it's some of the same of the technical colleges used to be there, or schools used to be before?
Now,
the
only thing that needs to be observed is about the technical infrastructure, because CBC is divided into 3 pathways. The first one is called STEM, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics, which is now technical, like what I talked about, technical secondary schools. That is where they were starting. Now, the other one is humanities, arts and humanities oriented pathway. Okay? The other one is the physical pathway, which is also called sports. Sports is actually associated with sports. So there are 3. And if CBC is implemented the way it has been architectured, then we have no alternative but pursue the technical secondary school, especially because of STEM. Because STEM cannot succeed without a technical secondary school education.
Okay.
Yes.
Now another question is, let me take you back to the rampant banning of schools that have been occurring like the last few couple of days. Do you think the communication gap, between teachers and students could be the problem causing all this? Or what are your...
I can be able to summarize the cause of these problems through looking at a number of perspectives. The first one, we said that the school system is still mentally in the 20th century, but physically in the 21st century. What does that mean? There's a weakness in the policy direction of the education system. The education authorities have not so far aligned the education system with the mentalities of the 21st century. That is one of the problems that is being communicated by the students through their riots and their banning of schools. But this education is not taking us anywhere. Okay? Number 2, we are now in the 3rd year of what is known as as a 100% transition. You are aware of 100% transition?
Yes, yes.
Everybody leaves secondary schools, primary schools and go to secondary school.
Secondary school, yes.
And what I have observed, even on the ground, is that even teachers are having serious problems with people who do not have capacity to learn. But they are now in secondary schools. And those who do not have the capacity to learn, they end up looking like they are being punished by the education system. Again, their indiscipline levels go up because when they look like they are being punished, see, they have to run away from that punishment.
True, true.
And that is why you find it's happening even in girls' schools. Girls' schools, boys' schools,
Yeah.
national schools, extra county schools, because the alignment of the education system is not working with the dynamics of the 21st century. Now, the next thing is that on the ground, these are facts that are found on the ground as I conduct seminars in schools and everywhere else, universities, secondary schools, primary schools. Primary schools have seminars for teachers. Secondary schools, seminars for every class, and also seminars for teachers. What I have found interesting about teachers is that only 10% of teachers became teachers by choice. Another 40 to 50% of teachers ended up liking teaching.
How did you find out that?
When I conduct seminars,
You have seminars, yeah.
I do my own statistics,
Okay.
and I later confirm with the various other avenues. And so what it means, we have 40% of teachers who do not like teaching at all. In fact, in one school that I conducted a seminar in Nyahururu in October, I was later given feedback that the teacher resigned from teaching because he found himself a liability
To the school.
So he went now to follow his passion. In another school, which I conducted a seminar in Laikipia for teachers, 3 teachers ended up going back to university to realign their knowledge. That is the feedback that I got, and I have it in writing. Okay. So now, those are 3 avenues that are communicating there's a problem with the education system. Isn't it? The 4th avenue is this. As parents, we all became very busy looking for money. Isn't it? Making money. And we forgot about alignment of the values of our children. We have no time to align their moral values. Okay? So, they are okay even destroying national property, destroying whatever they come across if they are not happy with what they are going through. That is another attribute that is contributing to the destruction in schools. Still, communication of something is wrong with now the society. The society has failed in empowerment of our children towards becoming what they are expected to become. So, I don't know, we have to work out ways, all of us, all the stakeholders of the education system, to address those issues. And once they are addressed, then those indisciplines of students will scale down.
Okay. Now, there was just the other day, our, I think, Cabinet Secretary, our Minister for Education, was trying to suggest day schools, like all boarding schools be turned into day schools. What's your take on that? Is that
in my view, that is escaping from the problems with the wrong route, through the wrong route. You get? Boarding schools have been there all through, even as we were young, even during the time of our fathers. Boarding schools were there and they were producing excellent Kenyan citizens. So the problem is not boarding. No, I have said the problems are for the weaknesses of the education system, and one, I have talked about the school system being aligned to 20th century dynamics. Then the 100% transition. And 100% transition, the only thing that works against it is that we do not have technical secondary schools now for people who are good with the work of their hearts, but poor academically. That is what contributes to the challenges of the 100% transition. Then the other one is parents, okay, not performing their roles of moderating the conduct of their students or the moral values of their students. And of course, don't forget teachers. The 40% of teachers who don't like teaching, okay, they influence their students negatively without their knowledge. So unless those issues are addressed, talking about banning boarding schools is trying to solve the problem, but through the long avenue.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, having said that, okay, what is your summary solution about it? Because okay, you're giving like you're giving problems, the cause of all these language of banning schools and the students rioting and all that. So what's your summary solution on that?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
In 2015, I indicated what the problems in the school system were, and I interacted with the education system authorities, and I actually gave them tips on what needs to be done. One of the things that I suggested is that students should not just make choices at Form 2. They are supposed to be guided properly so that they can have proper strategic direction and as they continue with studies in secondary schools. Nobody listened to me. But in my own efforts, I interact with many schools and they call me to do that. And when they call me to do that, align students at Form 2, some will call me at Form 4, some will call me at Form 3. They see the fruits of empowerment, you know, in the right format of empowerment. Okay? So then the other one is the new curriculum. Let it be implemented as it has been architectured. As it continues being implemented as it's architectured, let all the stakeholders in the school system focus.
Wow. Very interesting stories there, viewers. I hope someone has learned something from our brother here, Mr. Mwangi, Dr. Mwangi, right? Yeah, Mr. Mwangi, yeah? He's given us a lot of stories, educative stories, concerning various places, and also Mr. Mwangi wrote 3 books here. He's done 3 books here. Career Dynamics. This Career Dynamics, the first book that he did. Then the second one is Living Beyond Survival. And then also we have you have the 21st student, 21st century student. So, Mr. Mwangi, I wanted to give your last advice to maybe your last word on that camera. Your last words to both parents, let me say parents, teachers, and the students.
Okay, thank you. Viewers, I want to assure you that there are solutions to the problems of disempowerment in this country. And what I can confirm, and anybody can confirm from my writings, through the 3 books, or the 2 books and 1 booklet, is that the problems we are going through are man-made. And we can be able to sort them out if we understand clearly the paradigms of the 21st century, especially how we are supposed to use the power within us to solve the problems that we are encountering in schools, in the workplace, in our businesses, because all of us have got a purpose in life. The only thing that remains is for us to determine that purpose and align ourselves with that purpose. And they can easily be determined from career dynamics in the 21st century, which was used for architecture of the new curriculum, and also approved by KICD for circulation in schools, and the advancement titled Living Beyond Survival, No More Tiptoeing in Life. What does the last statement mean? It means that once we are aligned with our natural orientations, we walk tall and feel very comfortable in life and able to do or to get what we want in life without struggling. I encourage you to get that knowledge from our talks that we have had just today. And if you want more, you can get it from our books or from the books. You can also contact me. I easily conduct seminars on short notice, and my numbers.
Yeah, his numbers will be appearing on this screen here. And then you can even as well tell them.
Okay. My numbers are 0772 516210 or 0722 516210. I'm also on WhatsApp as Mwangi Wajumbe. I'm also on Facebook as Mwangi Wajumbe. I'm also on YouTube as Mwangi Wajumbe. So there are no chances of being unable to capture me if you want to get to know more from me. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, viewers, for watching our show today. I hope you've learned something. I hope someone is empowered, because so much has been discussed about, so much has been shared by our brother here, Mr. Wajumbe. So that brings us to the end of our show today. Mr. Mwangi, thank you so much for coming to our show. We look forward to see you next time. We look forward to, seeing people being empowered.